Tsale, it's story time. Our Ring Cycle series continues with part 3, Siegfried. If you haven't watched parts 1 and 2, please watch those and catch up with the storyline before watching this video. The links are in the caption. For the rest of us who know about Wotan, Alberich, Sieglinde, and Brünnhilde, let's get into the story. At the end of Die Walküre, Wotan left his daughter Brünnhilde deeply asleep in a ring of fire, and Sieglinde escaped with her incestuous pregnancy. Several years have passed since then, and we are brought back into the Nibelung community. You know, the dwarves. Remember that the Nibelung, Alberich, creator and curser of the all-powerful ring, has a brother named Mime, the one who crafted the Tarnhelm. Mime is a very talented metalsmith, but business is slow, and he too wants to gain absolute power. So he has his eyes set on that ring. Mime has devised a plan on how to retrieve the ring from the giant Fafner. Speaking of Fafner, he's had quite the transformation. In order to make sure that no one would dare venture into his vicinity to attempt stealing the ring, the Tarnhelm, and the rest of the Rheingold, Fafner has transformed himself into a ferocious dragon. He's a trans reptile. He identifies as cold-blooded, or is it hot-blooded? He's a dragon after all. Mime knows that it isn't going to be easy defeating giant dragon Fafner, and he knows that he can't do it himself, but he knows someone who can. His adopted son, Siegfried. Oh yes, the unborn child we learned about in Die Walküre is now a young man, and the only parent he knows is Mime. Don't worry, soon we will find out how Mime became the guardian of Siegfried. In raising Siegfried, Mime discovered that the boy has a fearless character that is inexplicable. The child fears nothing. He has that combination of reckless fearlessness and impressive strength that makes him a danger to himself and to others. He's totally unaware of this because he hasn't had interaction with anyone else aside Mime. Living deep in the forest with no interpersonal skills, this is the youth whom Mime wants to send to go and defeat Fafner the dragon. But Mime won't send him without a weapon. Mime has tried crafting several swords for Siegfried. The young chap is in the peak of his teenage angst era, and he destroys all of the swords in boredom and disinterest. He's also fed up of being around Mime. I mean, it's obvious that Mime isn't his father. So, one day, Siegfried decides it's time to find out the truth about his lineage. He's like, Mime, I know you've raised me all these years and you've done your best, but I really want to know my birth parents. I can't afford one of those fancy DNA tests. So could you just tell me where my parents are? Maybe I've got brothers and sisters out there, or uncles and aunties, or grandparents who pamper me. Mime lets out a heavy sigh. Oh, son, I knew this day would come. Here's what happened. I was gallivanting through the forest one day, and I encountered a woman in distress. She was on the ground, screaming in pain. It was when I got closer that I noticed she was pregnant. The time for her to give birth had come, and her labor was difficult. I've never seen anything like it. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. She saw me standing nearby, and she beckoned me to come closer. She could barely speak, but she pointed to a bag on the ground near her. She wanted me to open it. I did. Inside the bag, I found several broken pieces of metal. It was later that I realized it was a sword. In the throes of her pain, she mustered the strength to say 4 words to me. Keep it for him. Then, suddenly, I heard her let out a scream that I can't describe. It was almost animalistic, and the baby came out of her as she took her last breath. You were so tiny and fragile, lying there on the forest soil, motherless. I just couldn't leave you there, Siegfried. I brought you home and raised you as my own, but I've always known that you have a greater destiny. Siegfried has been observing Mime and listening to him, in stoic silence. Finally, he says, "Fix the sword." And he leaves Mima struggling to put Notung back together. As Mima continues with his impossible task, he hears a knock on his door. He's like, "Who is this coming to disturb me?" He opens the door to find an old man standing there. In actual fact, it is Wotan, disguising himself as a senior citizen looking for shelter. We know that Wotan doesn't need shelter. I mean, he's got a pimped out Valhalla mansion, but he says, "Greetings, Nibelung. I wonder if you would be so kind to let me stay here for a night. And, as an act of good faith, I will let you ask me 3 questions, and if I can't answer them, you can have my head." What kind of Turandot vibe is this? Anyway, Mima is like, I'm kind of busy right now, but okay, fine, let's get this over with. So Mima asks the 3 questions. Wotan gets all of them right, of course. But instead of saying, "Okay, come on in, wanderer," Mima says, "Oh, you thought I was going to let you in? Begone, wanderer." Then Wotan says, "Okay, wait. I answered all your questions correctly. You're turning me away? All right, well, let's flip the script. Now I'll ask you 3 questions, and if you can't answer all of them, your head is mine." Mima is annoyed by now. He's like, "Okay, fine, let's do it." The first 2 questions are easy for Mima, but the last question has him stumped. The last question is about the powerful sword, Notung. Who can repair the sword that will destroy Fafner? Mima can't answer. Remember, he's been trying for years to fix this thing, but the sword is like, nope. So Wotan says, "Let me tell you something, bruh. The only one who can repair that sword is the one who knows no fear. You can keep your head." And he leaves. Mima is highly perplexed now because it dawns on him that Siegfried is the one who can fix the sword, the one who can defeat Fafner, the one who can reclaim the ring, the Tarnhelm, and all the gold, and the one who can kill him, Mima. And guess who comes home? Ah, yes, Siegfried is back, and seeing that Mima still has not been able to fix Notung, Siegfried says, "Oh heck, I'll just do it myself." And guess what he does? He takes all the broken sword pieces, minus the grip, of course, melts them down, and crafts the sword with the molten metal. I mean, guys, even I would have thought of that. Mima, the magical metal worker, didn't think of that. Now that the sword is ready, Mima is plotting as to how he can use Siegfried to get the ring back. He knows the boy is fearless and he'll face Fafner without breaking a sweat. But he's also afraid that Siegfried could kill him too, because he doesn't fear or respect him. Mima decides that he has to find a way to instill fear in Siegfried. So he tells the boy that fear is a very special skill. He's like, "Siegfried, you are a very brave and talented boy, but in order for you to be considered among the great heroes of legend, you must master the art of fear." Siegfried is like, "What's that?" "Fear." Mima continues, "Fear is a rare skill that only the best of the best possess. Learn to be fearful, and the whole world will be at your feet." Now Siegfried is getting excited. He's like, okay, so how do I learn? How do I learn this fear thing? Mima says, "Oh, it's very simple. I will take you to a dragon named Fafner. He's the best at teaching fear." Siegfried is like, "Bet. Let me use the loop, then we move." Mima quickly mixes a poisonous drink. He knows that Siegfried will slay Fafner with Notung and retrieve the ring, the Tarnhelm, and the rest of the Rheingold. So Mima plans to poison Siegfried when they return so that he can take possession of the ring and everything else. Meanwhile, outside the dragon's den, Wotan is already there, getting a front row seat for the action. And guess who's also there? Alberich. This is where he's been camping out all these years, waiting for Fafnir's demise so that he can take back the ring. Alberich is like, Wotan, what are you doing here? Wotan says, why? I can't pass by a dragon's cave in peace? Alberich is like, no, not when that dragon has my ring, which you want. Wotan says, hey, chill. I tell you what, I'll leave you here to continue your watchman job, but what is meant to be will be. And with that, Wotan leaves. Eventually, Siegfried and Mima also arrive at Fafnir's cave. Mima is like, all right, Siegfried, this is it. Very soon, Fafnir will teach you about fear and you will be a complete warrior. So just wait here at the entrance and he'll be out any moment. And he leaves Siegfried standing there alone. As the young man waits for the dragon, a bird comes flying by, singing. Siegfried is like, oh, that sounds nice. He likes the bird song so much that he tries playing it on his own horn. Well, guess what happens when you blow a horn outside a dragon's cave? You know when you're really enjoying your sleep and someone snaps you out of it with noise? You know how annoyed you feel? Yeah, multiply that by dragon. Fafnir wakes up. He's like, boy, you know I'm gonna kill you, right? Siegfried is like, I know you're gonna try. He's so cocky, I love it. The fight begins, and it's a short one. I mean, we all knew that Fafnir would die, but Siegfried doesn't waste time at all. He slays Fafnir by plunging his sword into Fafnir's heart. And as Fafnir is dying, he says, boy, be careful. That ring is cursed. Siegfried is like, okay. And he swiftly pulls his sword out of Fafnir's heart. The sword is all bloody, and some of the blood drips onto Siegfried's hand. The blood is so hot that it burns him. He goes, ow! And he sucks his bloody finger. Then, a strange thing happens. There's something in the dragon's blood that gives Siegfried a new power. Remember the bird that was singing nearby? Now, Siegfried has the power to understand the bird's messages. Like, the bird can talk to him. The bird now becomes his companion. So when he hears the bird chirping, like, he actually hears it as the bird say, Tsale, there's a ring in there and a tarn helm and a pile of gold. Take it all. So Siegfried is collecting the ring, and outside the cave, the dwarf brothers, Alberich and Mima, have seen each other and they're arguing. Both of them are bent on getting the ring, but the one who now has it, Siegfried, doesn't even realize what the ring is worth. He doesn't know anything about it. He doesn't even realize how powerful it is. He's like, what is this? I didn't learn anything about fear, and now all I have is this crusty ring. But the bird is like, Siegfried, what are you talking about? Are you crazy? That ring is priceless. So Birdie convinces Siegfried to hold on to the ring. And now Mima is ready for his next ploy, to poison Siegfried. He takes out the poisoned drink and offers it to Siegfried. Here you go, son. You must be thirsty. Oh, but the dragon blood is unlocking new powers for Siegfried. Now he can read Mima's mind, and he realizes what's happening. Well, that was the end of Mima. He too became a victim of Siegfried and Notung. Alberich is watching this from his hiding place near the cave, and he's laughing at his brother's death. Dysfunctional dwarves. Now that Siegfried has killed his guardian, killed Fafnir, claimed the ring, and made a new bestie, he's ready for some new adventures. The bird is like, there's a woman sleeping in a ring of fire. Let's go and see her. Siegfried is like, okay, maybe she will teach me fear. Let's go. So they get to Brynhilda's rock, and guess who's there? Grandfather Wotan, still in disguise as the old wanderer. But of course, Siegfried has no idea who he is. Wotan is blocking Siegfried's path, but Siegfried brushes past the old man rudely and uses Notung to break Wotan's godly spear. Hey, Notung is a powerful sword. To break Wotan's spear is basically a tragedy. That spear is Wotan's everything, and his grandson has just destroyed it with one strike from Notung. But what can Wotan do? He quietly collects his broken spear bits and disappears to meditate on his defeat. Siegfried doesn't even realize the magnitude of what he has just done. He's heading straight for Brünnhilde's fire circle rock bed. The ring of fire doesn't intimidate him because he's fearless. So he just walks through. And remember, he's got some of Wotan's godly DNA from both of his parents. And now he's got dragon blood turbo boost powers. He sees Brünnhilde lying there. And y'all, this is where I'm like, Mr. Wagner, Richard, we know you like pushing the envelope and exploring controversial themes, but this is... Okay, here we go. Siegfried sees Brünnhilde lying there, and she's the first woman he's ever seen. Remember, he had a sheltered upbringing with Mima, and he sees Brünnhilde and he gets this feeling, the feeling of love. And in feeling love, he now feels fear. And he kneels down and kisses Brünnhilde passionately. And she wakes up and she sees Siegfried kneeling over her. And she declares that she's in love with this young man. And she renounces her status as a Valkyrie goddess and all her powers. And they rejoice together in their love for each other. And all I can think is, girl, that is your nephew, boy. That is your auntie. Your granddaddy is her daddy. Your daddy is his granddaddy. What are y'all doing? What is going on? This concludes part 3 of the ring cycle. Siegfried. On the next episode of Storytime, we conclude the ring cycle with part 4, Götterdämmerung. Cheers.